Next tools we're going to talk about are the burn and the dodge tools, which are right under the smudge and sharpen tools right here. So if I go ahead and click on the burn tool, it's the second option from the drop down. Okay, now what we see is the image of Cate Blanchett, whom I like so much and whose image I found online. And I want to use the burn tool to, add some blush on the cheeks and perhaps some color on the forehead. And then I want to use the dodge tool to work with the roots of the hair that look slightly darker than the blonde right here. So starting with the burn tool, first of all, before applying the burn tool, we have to pay attention to two things. We can control the exposure and we can control the range. Now under range, we have three options: highlights, shadows, and midtones. When we set the range to highlights, only the lightest areas will be affected. When we set the range to shadows, only the darkest areas will be affected. And when we set the range to midtones, only the middle tones will be affected. So to get a feel about how this tool works, you have to try out all three and then see what works best with your image at that time. So starting with an exposure of 100 and using highlights, I'm going to go ahead and try to add some color, actually burn the color at the edge right here on the cheek. So let me go ahead and do that. Now it turns out that this is not what I want because it looks like some smoke or shadow has been added to the face, which is not the effect I want. And this tells me that highlights, which actually where only the lightest areas are affected, is not what I need for this particular image. So let me go ahead and choose midtones instead and then apply the brush. So this is great. Again, remember that you can control the size of your brush with your bracket keys on the keyboard. So I applied the brush just once. Maybe I want to apply it one more time, but now I feel this is too much, right? So if I really need to apply one more time, I can go ahead and put the exposure down to something like 20 or something like that, and then apply, but just to the point where I don't really burn the image because I want it to look natural. Same thing here. If I apply some of the burn tool on the other cheek and just a bit on the forehead. Now the thing is, I made a small mistake. I forgot that I had my exposure down to 21 and I don't see any changes being made. So let me put that back up to 100 and then use a smaller brush and apply some burn on the forehead like that, and then on this cheek. Okay, now the next tool I want to work with is the dodge tool, and what I want to do is try to brighten the color right here where the roots are slightly darker than the blonde hair. So let me go ahead and do that using midtones and an exposure of 100. So just apply. Okay, now I can start seeing that I have a hint of an orange color here, which tells me that I've applied it too much. So I'm going to go like a couple of steps back, maybe apply it to this side a bit here, and that's enough. So now it looks much better than what I had initially. But I can't continue applying this because I don't want it to look unnatural either. So remember that you can apply the burn tool and the dodge tool on any image that you have. It doesn't need to be a portrait. It can be an image of nature, a vase with flowers, any image where the burn tool and the dodge tool can be useful in darkening and brightening certain surfaces to make an image more dramatic, make it have more contrast, and so forth.